Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Today we read about Jacob standing before Pharaoh. And it's interesting the way that he answers the question that Pharaoh poses to him. Pharaoh had asked him, "How many are the days of the years of your life?" And Jacob answers the question, but he also kind of reflects on his life as he does so. It continues and says that Jacob said to Pharaoh, "The days of the years of my sojourning are 130. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life, and they are not attained to the days of the years that my fathers lived during the days of their sojourning." He calls them few and evil. Now, we might think 130 years is not few at all, but given the time that he was living, that was few, especially in connection to how long his ancestors had lived. And then two, if you think about it in the context of all of eternity, his father Isaac lived to be 180, and his grandfather Abraham lived to be 175. And so he still had a long ways to go to attain to that age. But then also in connection to eternity, he could also say that his days were few compared to the whole history of the world, but also in connection to eternity. And so he looked at his life as just few in years, few days he had lived on this earth. And then he also said that it was evil. Jacob had experienced a lot of difficulty in his life, and in the immediate context, and what had happened to him recently was what happened with Joseph. For a very long time, he had believed that Joseph was dead, and he was in bereavement for his son for decades. But then you could also look back to his experience with Laban, how he was mistreated by Laban, had his wages changed on him multiple times. Laban had dealt with him in a very deceitful and treacherous way. And so Jacob, of course, could look back on his life and see all the difficulties that he went through. But what seems to put this kind of into context was the fact that he also said that the days of the years of his sojourning, in other words, he saw his life as a sojourning. A sojourning is a temporary experience. It means that you just temporarily go somewhere and journey somewhere. And so Jacob recognized that his life was just a sojourning, a temporary experience that he was living in, a temporary journey that he was experiencing in comparison to, of course, eternity. And we're told that we too are sojourners on the earth in 1 Peter chapter 2 in verse 11, where Peter says, "Beloved, I urge you as sojourners and exiles to abstain from fleshly lusts which wage war against the soul." We might look back on our lives and say, you know what, few and evil have been the days of my life. We could look back on our lives and we recognize that it's just been few. The older we get, we realize just how fast time passes, and we just realize that life is very short. But we also can look in our lives and see that life is very difficult. We see the challenges that we've had to face. We've seen the uncertainty, the chaos, all the different things that have came up against us. We can say the days of our lives have also been filled with evil, with difficulty and hardship. But when we put that in the context of the fact that we are just sojourners on this earth, that however difficult it might be, still it's a temporary situation. It's kind of like a person who goes camping or goes on some type of hike, and they're just sojourning. They're just there camping out for a little while, and maybe it's difficult. Maybe bad weather comes, or maybe the trail is difficult and treacherous, and they have a difficult time. What would bring a person comfort would be to know that their situation was just temporary. And yes, it was difficult while they were camping out or hiking, but there's a more permanent dwelling waiting for them when the journey is over. And that would bring comfort and consolation to know that, yes, it's difficult, but it's temporary, and it will one day come to an end. And that's how it can be with our lives. We might look at our lives as few and evil, or we could say few and difficult, but we know that it's just a temporary situation, that there is an eternal home where there's no more crying, no sickness, no death, no sorrow, but a situation in which there is eternal bliss, and a place where we can not just live a few years, but live eternally with Jesus Christ and with the Father. And so, as we think about how Jacob reflected on his life, we could reflect the same. And to recognize that, yes, our lives do seem very few and they do seem very evil, but it's just a sojourning. And that we are looking ahead to a greater and brighter future in which all of these things that press against us, all these things that might mount up against us, are just temporary and are leading us to a situation of glory. As the Apostle Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, these momentary light afflictions cannot even compare to the eternal weight of glory that waits for us. And that's what we look ahead to. That's what we look forward to. And it puts our lives into context. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do a reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.